PRMA has specified a transparent mechanism for revenue allocation to GNPC that has largely been respected and worked well in practice. So, to enhance budgeting and long-term planning, and to avoid short-term politicization of the process, the funding for GNPC has been set up on earmarking basis. So the law says a portion of the revenues that accrue to Ghana's carried and participating interest in the producing oil fields should be transferred to GNPC. And and this is earmarked. The earmarked transfers are of two types. There's an allocation to cover GNPC's equity financing costs. So as a shareholder in the producing fields representing the interests of Ghana, they have to finance their equity interest in the fields. So the law requires that they be given an allocation for that. And then the law also requires that they should be given an additional allocation, on top of what they need to finance their equity interest. So these are clear rules that have been respected in practice. And between 2011 to 17, GNPC received about $1.24 billion of petroleum revenues. So in terms of the allocative process to GNPC, that's clear, that is transparent, and that has worked well in practice. We then looked at GNPC's own transparency about its affairs. There we found that GNPC does have extensive reporting obligations to various authorities, which it generally complies with. So various legislation require GNPC to disclose information to various authorities. But GNPC's transparency, its overall transparency, is weakened by its own limited and inconsistent public disclosure of information. Okay, so even though various legislation require GNPC to report on its operations to various authorities, not all those disclosures are then made available to the public. You see, so for example, GNPC is required to submit its annual reports to the Ministry of Energy and the Ministry of Finance by setting legal deadlines. Okay, we found that with respect to the annual reports, GNPC has typically not complied with the deadlines. In fact, they're required to submit the annual report to the Ministry of Finance audited by the end of April each year. They've never complied with that. This is in the PFM Act. They've typically not complied with that. They also, as we know, are required to present their budget to Parliament. Now, Parliament does not publish the budget. GNPC too does not publish it. It's possible to obtain a copy, but generally it's not publicly disclosed. Also, some of the information that GNPC submits to the authorities are actually made public. So, for example, information on petroleum production, sales and revenue, these are published in the budget or in the petroleum reports, etc. But other information are not made public. For example, GNPC is required to submit performance management reports to the erstwhile State Enterprises Commission, now known as the State Interest and Governance Authority. It does comply, but then those performance management reports are not made publicly available. Indeed, we learned from GNPC that even when they sponsored the Black Stars years ago, they had certain key performance indicators which they used to evaluate whether that sponsorship was generating value. And they were reporting on these to the authorities, but they were not making them publicly available. And we feel this undermines the overall transparency, because the transparency we're interested in is in transparency to the taxpayers who ultimately own the resources. And as I said, a key source of data on GNPC's operations is annual audited financial reports. That key source of data is not published in a consistent and timely fashion. You will not find GNPC's 2018 annual report, anywhere in the public domain as we speak, near the end of 2019. And we